Again and back at it. Oh, I got my glasses on and everything. I know it gives a little bit of reflection, but I'm a little bit tired. I had a long day of work back in my home area, not home base, home area. I just got back from a week in Florida, which was a beautiful, great time, and I really enjoyed myself. And I'm thankful to be back though too. You know what I mean? Back at my job. So it was a long day at work. I didn't get a chance to do any videos, but I at least wanted to share with you some reflections from my trip, some thoughts on a home base, if I think it's worth it, if you are a nomad or thinking to be a nomad, and then just some general conversation because I haven't gone live in a while because I've been on my trip. And then Dario, welcome back, Sam D. Thank you. It was a good trip. Overall, D, it was a positive trip. I feel good. My body's still kind of like getting adjusted to being back. It's cool here, but it's not cold for this time of year. So it's still relatively comfortable, but I'm coming from 85 degrees and sunny. So just adapting is a huge part of life. But I feel good overall. I feel positive. You know what I mean? Taking care of myself, eating well. And that's a big part of it too. I mean, eating well and taking care of yourself, because travel, it takes a toll on your body. I mean, I could definitely feel it, traveling that amount, traveling, over 2,000 miles in the course of 7 days plus. You could feel your body. You could feel that pressure. And I just took my time. I took it nice and easy and slow. And it was an enjoyable time. So welcome back, Milano. Thank you, brother, man. Milano, you left a lot of great feedback, man, when I was down in Florida. And I learned a lot from you, brother. I mean, I believe you're down in Florida in the Miami area. And I really enjoy your comments, man. You were a blessing. You gave a lot of good insight. Me and you think very similar. So it's really cool connecting with you, Milano. I appreciate you, man. It was good stuff. So the subject, the structure of my thoughts, yes, we will talk about my Florida trip, etc. But the structure is a home base. Is a home base worth it if you're a nomad? If you're someone who lives full-time out of your car or full-time out of your RV? Because it's something that on my trip I explored the idea, and I gave some thought to it, looking at different communities and different lots of land that allow you, they're deeded specifically, no problem, Milano, it's all love, that deed specifically that you don't have to build a physical house. You can just park your RV there and you can live on it. Now, you can't park your car there. You can't park a van. It has to be an official RV. So the one that I found out was, just even reasonable based on the location I want to be, because everything is relative to location. Everything's relative, period. But example, you go to New Jersey, you go to Camden, New Jersey, one of the highest crime rates in the state. So if you only visited New Jersey and you go to Camden, yes, real estate would be cheaper, but your experience may be bad and you may not like the area. So Florida, if you go to a certain part in Florida, a certain bad high crime area in Florida, your experience may be bad and there may be cheaper land. So your experience and the cost of land and the cost of real estate is all relative to not just the state, but the specific towns in the state. You always have to remember that. And you always have to put everything in perspective and context. You know what I mean? So one thing that was eye-opening is one RV community I looked at online. It looked beautiful. But I went there, and the community, and as soon as I pulled up, it was a gated community. As soon as I pulled up to the guard shack, there was a stench. And I said, man, and I was talking to the security guard. I said, what do I need to do to get signed in so I could look at different lots of land? And so he was telling me the whole process. And in the midst of our conversation, he goes, yeah, the community is great. He goes, you just have to get past the initial smell because the land is located in between two waste stations. That's, it's, two places where all your crap goes from the sewer. Those two plants are right next to that. And so in the cross breeze, all you smelt was sewer. And so I didn't even bother going in there. I just crossed it off my list. I mean, the price was good for what you were getting, but it's all relative. It's in a bad location. I don't want to smell shit, you know what I mean, when I'm chilling at my home base. So all relative. And then I finally found a nice RV lot community in southeast, on the east coast of Florida. That was the other thing that I wanted to look at the different areas in Florida. For me personally, it's all based on personal preference. I enjoy the East Coast of Florida, the southern East Coast, more than the West Coast. It's just different feels. You get the ocean is more active and you get more waves. It's better for surfing on the East Coast because it's right off the Atlantic. So obviously on the West Coast you have the Gulf, and it's kind of like, there's not as high energy levels on the waves and on the water. The water is clearer on some areas and the sand is a little softer, but the water isn't as active, and I didn't like the feel. So I pinpointed to an area, and I found a decent lot that I said, you know what, I could see me buying this as a home base. And so one thing I had to ask myself was, would it still be living below my means? And yes, I did a video on if I bought it and HOA fee was $200 a month and taxes are $800 a year. I mean, that's phenomenal. Up here in New Jersey and New York, I mean, you're not going to get taxes under even, taxes for a small, when I had my condo, and I had a smaller condo, it's like $6,000 to $7,000 a year. So, you're not going to get, you're not going to get anywhere near that as far as in New Jersey or something like that. And, so $700 a month would be total for the loan on the property, for the taxes, for the HOA. Now, the key thing with that, too, is that you still have to buy an RV because you can't just park your car or van on there. And so then you have to factor in the cost of buying an RV. And then you're right back into that cycle of consuming. You're buying more things, you're incurring monthly recurring bills, and now you start to lose some of your freedom. What you gain, the pro is you're gaining some security. You're gaining at the end of every night, you have a fixed area that you can park, that you can be safe, and you don't have to worry. The con is, now you have recurring bills, now you're caught a little bit in consumerism, and you have to be careful. Now, the end game is always to live below your means. I am a little bit extreme because I live solely out of my car, pretty much out of one bag. Not too many people will ever be able to do that over a period of time. I mean, I've done it now for about a year. And in my research, most people, if they even try it, most people just daydream about it. And then if they ever even try it, they last about 6 to 8 months. The amount of people that really last over a year, very few, very few. So then you get to a certain point after you really understood that you can do this mobile lifestyle. You say to yourself, do I want a home base? Do I want somewhere where I can park my RV or car and to recharge my batteries, to call it my own lot of land so I don't have to fight, and go to different rest stops? Or down in Florida, I tell you this, you have to, there's no type of Walmart or, type of parking lot where you can just sit and park. Why? Because I saw the most van dwellers I've ever seen in any state down in Walmart. Now, the only other state I think in America that could compete with, van dwellers and people living out of RVs or cars is probably California. Again, because of the climate. The weather, all year round warm weather makes it a magnet for people who are, nomadic, people who are mobile, and people who want to travel with the weather. Now, that being said, it's like everything else. You have good and bad. I certainly ran into people that their car looked like it's been parked in the same spot for days, if not weeks. And certainly every time I will go past, DG, ask good question. How much square footage land will you get? Good question, D. The square footage of land, I'm not 100% sure. What was that? That's a great question. I don't square. Let me see if I have the thing here. Good question, D. See, D's thinking smart. I do have it, D. Good question. So let me see here. I know this is an improv. Private road. Did they give the square footage, D? I don't know if they gave me the square footage. Good question, man. He told me it. I remember asking and he told me it and I don't remember it. And it doesn't say on a piece of paper he gave me. I mean, it was definitely enough for like 2 cars. You could fit up to a 35-foot RV. And then there was enough for like 2 cars in addition to that. But the square footage, I don't know. So I don't want to lie to you. But it's a huge takeaway of freedom. But it's a gain of security. Now down, have I ever really had a security problem living full-time in my car on the road? not full legit, but I've certainly been approached in the middle of the night by different people that were either strung out on drugs or whatever. Like, example, on my way back up to New Jersey, when I stopped in a rest stop, right off I-95. A popular rest stop with all night long gasoline station, all night long stores. And I was just sitting in my car, and I wasn't even sleeping. I was just sitting in my car. I was doing some things on my phone at midnight, and before I know it, I looked up. Some guys coming to my car window asking me for money, saying, "Oh, I ran out of gas money, etc., etc." And that has happened to me probably about 3 times in a year, where in the middle of the night someone has come to my car and asked me for gas money, and it's clear that they're strung out on drugs or alcohol, and they give you some type of hard luck story. But then you have a decision to make. One is you're going to give them money, and if you're going to give them money, you better make sure that they don't say, well, they see how much money you have, and then they try to take all your money. And 2 is if you say no, they may have a problem with that. I said no. I said, look, I'm not going to give you any money. And now after that, I pulled off. I didn't stay in that rest stop, because certainly you're not going to tell somebody they can't have money and then go to sleep in the back of your car. So what you do when you live full-time out of your car, you have tremendous freedom, but what you do is you take a higher level of personal safety risk. Is it a tremendous amount where you should live in fear? No. Is it a tremendous amount where you should never do it? No. Again, if you're single and if you don't have a family. Certainly I saw a lot of people with $100,000 RVs at Walmarts on the way up from Florida in like North Carolina, etc. They were parked in Walmart, and I'm sure they do that full time. So we got cut off. That's okay. I don't think living out of your car is anything to fear as far as safety. I think overall, if you're a responsible person and you're respectful of your environment, I think overall you'd be fine. But I want to be clear, you do take a higher personal safety risk, especially at night. Hey, Dana, how are you? Welcome back. Thank you, Dana. North Carolina, Dana. Thank you for all your kind comments. I appreciate it. Milano, RV parking is getting expensive. Quotation marks, RV parks compared to like 5 years ago. Prices are going up like crazy. Excellent point, Milano. And Dana, thank you again for all your love. I can tell you're always very compassionate. Thank you. Milano, great point. I mean, that's the thing. Everything is going up. Like my mom just leased a new car. Her car payments have gone up. Why has everything gone up? Because the economy has improved dramatically since 2007. Since we had the recession, over a period of time, now we're like, what are we, we're, almost a decade past that. It's going to be 2018 in a month. Almost 11 years past the height of the recession. The economy has improved. And when the economy is improved, remember 2007? Like every other house was like on sale. Every other house was almost like in bankruptcy. Every other house was under foreclosure. Now home prices are skyrocketing. And that all plays a part. That's why RV sales are also skyrocketing. That's why RV park rents are skyrocketing. Everything goes up when the economy is good, because when people can get more for something, then they'll get more. They're not going to take less when they don't have to. And so, that's part of the discussion with a home base. Now, I got some comments, all good comments. Some people said, well, you're better off if you do want to, be static for a while, you're better off renting. Now, sometimes you are better off renting, specifically if you're not going to, you're specifically better off renting if you do not like that area that you're in long term and you're only there for a job or to visit family members or for a season, and that's not the long-term resting area you want to be. That's when renting comes into play. Renting should be a transitional period if you can help it. Certainly if you can't help it, then you have to do what you have to do. We've all been there in life. But if you see yourself long-term in a certain area and it has job opportunities and that's where you want to be, and if you're not the type of person that you're willing to be totally without a home base like me for a year, then, and not too many people again are like me. I mean, it's one thing to go camping. It's one thing to go a couple weeks, but to live a year with no home base, sleeping in, rest stops, Walmarts, campgrounds, sometimes my family member's driveway, etc. I mean, not too many people are built for that long term. And not too many people want to deal with somebody coming in their car, knocking at their window like they did 2 nights ago. And the guy asked me for money at midnight. And again, it doesn't happen very often, so I don't want to put fear in your heart. But I want to say that's the benefit with the home base. And owning a home base versus renting is no matter what, your rent's going to go up, and you're never, after 10 years, you'll have no equity. The pro with owning is that you got to pay for something if you're going to have some type of base, if you're not just going to live totally boondocking. And I've kind of discussed, the argument in the nomad community as well. Just go to the West Coast and live off just live off BLM land, or live in, but that's in the middle of nowhere. It's in a desert. One is, I don't want to live in the desert. Let me see here now, a couple comments here. Dana, are you going to go remote with your job? Great question. I'm going to answer that. Hope you can. You should live your dream. Thank you, Dana. I appreciate that encouragement. Milano, 3 days I called Key West, one RV park, $160. Is that $162? Are they crazy? And that price was for a Class B. Now, for 1 day? That's crazy. Milano said, well, in Key West, that's prime real estate. $162 per day to rent an RV lot for a Class B, which is the smallest RV. That's crazy, Milano. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. But to answer Dana, your question, I can't do 100% remote yet. I don't have that opportunity. I have a level of flexibility, and from time to time there are different opportunities, but the right one hasn't presented itself. And I work with great people. One person that may still be in here, DJ, I work with him, and I work with great people, and I have a great job. I don't take that for granted, because I've had bad jobs in my life, and even though I have, basically no bills, I did a thing on my budget. I pretty much have no bills other than a few things that you're always going to have, but I could certainly get another job down in Florida and cover my expenses and live wherever I want. But one is, I have a great job, so I have to make sure that at least I'd have a fair shot at having the same quality of life as far as working with good people and working in an environment. And right now I'm blessed, so I don't want to just be emotional and change that. Two is, my mother still lives in New Jersey. So now the benefit with a home base would have been that if I buy a home base and I put an RV there, I'd probably still live out of my car, and I just let my mom stay there in the winter. And then when I go down there and visit her, I would just stay in my car. But she's a little bit entangled with living with my sister, and they have a little bit of a dysfunctional relationship. So then I say to myself, do I want to even bring that whole thing back into play? I don't think so. So, I'm kind of just talking this out right now. My thing is, I am not buying the home base. I think there's more cons than pros. I'm still considering it. I wanted to make this live stream to just share my thoughts on it. I was going to do a video, but I was very tired at the end of the day today, because it's a long day at work. It's my first day back at work. And I really didn't want to structure everything and try to squeeze it into. I try not to make videos longer than 5 minutes. So I wanted to just do a live feed and a free-flowing conversation about it. There's benefit there. And the win is, $700 a month. That's, for relative terms, after you add all factors, that's still cheaper than most people pay rent. And to be pretty much right on the beach, most people don't have that cheaper rent. And if they do have that cheaper rent, they're in a not great area. They have a not great view, etc. So, it's relative. Like, yeah, maybe you can get an RV park or something like that renting for $300 a month. But what type of area is it in? Do you look directly at your neighbors? And it's just rent. So for a couple $100 more, you have some equity if it's in a nice community. Definitely, if I had an RV, I would definitely consider it, because I couldn't see anyone moving the way I move. Traveling as much as I travel, and as fast as I do it, having an RV with me would be impossible to do it the way I do it. You'd have to live out of a car or van. And not too many people are willing to do that. Like, I saw all the van dwellers pretty much in Florida. They stayed in their certain area, and that's how they rock. They have like a certain mile radius. Even though they don't have an official home base, they park in certain parking lots, and they'll roll the dice with, a security guard or a cop knocking at their door. And so I keep it moving, and I try to stay compliant, because I just don't want that issue, and etc. But I saw a lot of people sleeping at Planet Fitness parking lots, a lot of van dwellers. A lot of people parked like in parks, but the parks even said like no overnight. So, once the sun went down, I got out of all those places. But I saw a lot of people camped out at a lot of those places. So, people roll the dice, And it's different mindsets in the nomad community, just like every community. You have responsible people and you have irresponsible people. So, you got to be mindful of that. Some people just don't care. You know, and I could see like the attitude on some people's face, like, you know, like they're not living out of their car really for freedom and everything. It's just like their mindset is just totally like, I don't know. So you know, there's different things. I mean, you get what I'm saying, but you know, that's the thing. I mean, I consider with a home base. I mean, but damn, then I have to buy an RV, and the amount of times I use it and what I'm paying for, I can't really justify it. I can't. It would be a want. It would still be below my means want, but I can't say that it would be worth it at this. Sorry guys, we get knocked off, a little bit bad connection. I mean, but I find it interesting. That's a major topic, that if you're going to be a person who lives full-time out of their car RV, that's one thing you have to consider. Now, Bob Wells, I heard he also purchased land recently. So, you know, that's what I heard, and you know, as true it is, I don't know the man, but he was the whole movement in the West Coast on living on free land in the desert. Now, he didn't live out of his van out of choice. He got forced there because he got a divorce and he couldn't afford anything. And then now he's making money off his YouTube channel and things. He's got like 100,000 subscribers. And so he probably bought himself some land. I mean, I don't know what that whole situation is about. But the one other guy on YouTube that inspired me, Rusty78609, I mean, he has a home base in Texas, but he doesn't really move much. I mean, he's older though, and he only travels once in a while. So different people do it different ways, but I would have to say, respect and love to Connecticut, 203 New Haven. Goon Loso, thank you. You are always checking for me. You're always showing tremendous love. I appreciate you, Goon Loso. Love and respect to Connecticut. What's the temperature like in Connecticut, Goon? Respect to Goon Loso. Love. But, yeah, I mean, it's a major factor that you have to consider. Milano made some excellent points. Blue Dream made some excellent points. I mean, there's a huge trade-off of freedom and a fixed cost. Just never forget, the simplified life is not always about having no bills. The simplified life is about living below your means, in my opinion. Now, certainly other people preach different messages. That's my overall message to most people. Again, considering that most people will never live out of their car, and even if they do, they'll never do it for an extended period of time. JP Lawn Care, love and respect. Kiss him. Mwah. Back to you. South Carolina, 40 degrees in Connecticut. Thank you, Goon. Linda, I made it back good. Thank you, Linda. I love Florida. I know you're a little upset with Florida. I know you want to get out of there. I'm praying for you, though, that you know, you're able to take your step, because I want you to be free. 48 degrees, best. Yeah. I mean, so we're at that point where for the northern states, it's starting to be below 50 on a daily basis. So this gets to itchy season, where a lot of people start to migrate down south if they can with their jobs, or at least on vacations, because they want to be in warmer climate during the winter. You know, really, after Christmas, then it's ball game. Then it's like freezing. You're done with the holidays. Like during the holidays, you're willing to accept some cold weather because you're snuggling up. You got your quilt on. You know, you're watching Christmas movies or whatever type of movies you like, and you got your hot chocolate and all that. And you know, after that, you know what I mean? From January to March, it's like Armageddon. You know what I mean? But the cold version of Armageddon. No good. But you have to consider your job. And thank you. Snowbird is nice. Yeah, Snowbird, 68 degrees in North Carolina. Danny, you're not doing bad. So, also, JP Lawn Care, you got to be good, too, because if you guys are around 70 degrees, that's pretty good. But to be honest with you, I like 85 degrees, man. I like 70. When I was in Florida, it got to about 65 degrees or so at night, maybe a little bit cooler. Now, I was right by the ocean for most of my visit. And that's a big difference. It's all relative. Like if you go in the middle of Florida, whether southern or whatever, and if you go in bad areas and it's hot, it's humid, you're in a bad area, you don't get the ocean breeze, you may hate Florida. But if you go on the coast in a nice area, etc., you may love Florida. It's a little bit relative. You always have to remember that. Again, if you go to Camden, New Jersey, or if you go to Spring Lake, New Jersey, it's two different experiences based on the environment and then based on, the climate, etc. Always remember that when you're talking about looking at property. That's why they say location, because every location has either a good experience behind it or a bad, relative to what you want in life. Again, some people I know, they love the change of seasons, and not having the change of seasons would not inspire them. Me, I don't mind a little bit of change of seasons, but the warm weather inspires me. Actually sweating inspires me. As long as I'm not like sweating at work. Like if I'm walking around on the beach and I'm, but that's the whole thing is you have to have, wherever you decide to live, or whether it's out of your car or have a home base, I mean, you have to have economic opportunities for a job. Because I do not support just not working. I mean, because why? Not because I want people to live a hard life, but because you won't live a good quality life if you don't have an income. Certainly if you want to do a job that, is not that stressful and maybe pays a little less, I'm not mad at you. But I don't want to lead people astray. Like I watched that somebody recommended it. I'm Moon Dancer. It's called Outward Bound. It was like the movie on YouTube that started Bob Wells and the whole movement. And there was one guy on there preaching the nomadic life, and he was like, he hopes unemployment gets to 50% because he doesn't think most people should work. They should just have free time. Now, I disagree with that. Now, certainly I think we're out of skew in capitalism where too many people may have to work for too less. But one is, I say, do what you can control, which is minimize your bills and live below your means. And then two is, there is a level of fulfillment in work. Like I was even talking to my guy, DG, if he's still in the chat room, he's going through some things where he has to work remote because of certain limitations he has right now. And he's actually looking forward to coming back in the office because he wants that human interaction. He wants that structure. So there is a benefit to it. There's also a negative. I mean, I have to be honest. Everything in life, there's no all benefit. There's a pro and there's a con. For a home base, the pro is you have a safe, secure spot. The con is you have fixed costs. You're always weighing pros versus cons, and you are weighing what best works for you. We're all different. We all want different things out of life, and we all have different dreams and desires. So never compare yourself, but you should listen and get general principles. Again, my general principle is living below your means. And then, like I say, living out of my car full-time for a year, you better be prepared that you're going to run into some shit once in a while at night. Like I said, 2 nights ago, a guy came to my door at midnight asking for money. I want you to be prepared that if you sleep at rest stops sometimes, it's happened to me on several occasions, somebody may come up to your car and ask you for money. So are you prepared to get out of there or to say no or what? I mean, so I don't want you to live in fear because it doesn't happen often. I just want you to be mindful of that. Florida, Linda, Florida is very nice, but need to be right with self. Then all is well. Working one day at a time. Yes, Linda, and Florida may not be. Florida is nice, but certainly I hear you. I've heard you in your comments that you're not inspired by Florida any longer, or you just never were completely. You went there, and maybe you went there for whatever reason, and it's not for you. What I want you to know is, one, it's okay. We all, myself included, have made the wrong decisions. And then we've made that decision and we say, shit, I shouldn't be here. I fucked up. So one is compassion and grace, okay? No judgment, and it's not about beating anyone up. But then after that, no pity parties. Then you have to look at, okay, what do I need to do to get out of this situation? And let me take it one step at a time, one day at a time. That being said, it is still hard to do. And most people will never change. It's very hard. I'm not saying that in judgment. I'm saying that in observation. I've seen that through life, that many people want to change. It's not even that people say, I don't want to change. I think a lot of people, I see a sincerity that people know they're not in the best circumstance in their life. They want to change, but they're so overwhelmed of the task that lies in front of them that it paralyzes them and they don't move. So 2 things I say to that. One is break that big, overwhelming problem down to small steps. Break it down to small steps, and each day you do a step. And then the second thing is, to be honest with you, there's some pain involved. But don't allow that pain to scare you and to put you in fear, because there is more pain in staying in a situation that God has shown you that this is no longer for me. Don't beat yourself up. We've all been there where it's no longer for us. But understand there's more pain involved in staying than there is in changing. Just know that. Kingfish, respect and love. There's another brother in Florida. Hey, bro, glad to see you live again. Did you ever plan to travel out west? Thank you, Kingfish. Thank you for your love and appreciate you. Kingfish is a good viewer from Florida. And I believe he lives in an apartment, but he does some long-term camping in his car. and maybe one day may live full time in his car. I have never been out west. I've traveled pretty much the entire east coast of the United States of America. At this time, I don't really have a deep desire to go west. I didn't even enjoy, really, to be honest with you, West Florida. I enjoyed the East Coast more. I'm not being disrespectful. I'm just sharing what I like. We're all different. The West Coast doesn't really inspire me. Why? Because I don't like desert. I like water, and I like amenities, and I like infrastructure. Now, Trend News. Hey, Sam, nice to see you. I really think you're being sincere about the place you like. Thank you, brother. Respect and love to Trend News from Canada. He also gave me some great comments when I was down in Florida. I don't think you are trying to convince anyone to be in Florida. No, everybody's different. It is what you like. Good for you. Thank you, Trend News. Thank you, brother. Thank you for all the things, too, we shared when I was in Fort Lauderdale, too. Great comments, brother. Gunloso. In the car driving to pick up in the car driving to pick up Mrs. Up, watching and listening to you on the way. Laugh out loud. Of course, safety first. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Gunloso. Respect and love to Connecticut. Yeah, Trend News, I believe Trend News either had some property at one time in Fort Lauderdale or from Canada, but we were sharing some good stuff. Yes, I mean, that's the key to all your decisions in life, in my opinion, is that the first place you need to start out with every decision is knowing yourself. Trend News still has property in Fort Lauderdale. God bless you. And I'm sure you're doing good now. Economy is really up and property values are up. And I'll tell you, that was my first time in Fort Lauderdale, brother. I was impressed. Fort Lauderdale, Gracie, a little bit too, not congested. I mean, I come from a New York area, so, I mean, I've seen the most congestion. Even when I was riding around in Miami's more congested than Fort Lauderdale. But Fort Lauderdale's positioned right for economic. Why? Because all the jobs in Florida, as far as the high, really good-paying jobs on average, I mean, you can always find a job anywhere, but what I saw was the heart of industry is located in Miami and Tampa, and Orlando, but Orlando is just mainly more or less around services and goods, you know what I mean, with Disney World, etc. Healthcare is the biggest industry in Florida, okay? So if you're looking for a job in Florida, you can, again, it's all relative, but that was the biggest engine turner regarding economic jobs, is something related to the healthcare industry or engineering regarding defense contracts for companies such as Harris and Grubber and Northfield, something like that. And so I'm saying all that to say, being in proximity to Miami, Tampa, or Orlando is obviously, if you would have a home base in Florida, that would be somewhat wisdom. Now, I like the Port St. Lucie area, to be honest. That was kind of like my favorite area. About an hour and a half away from Miami. So it's a little bit far if you needed to commute to Miami, but it was peaceful. That's where the Mets play their spring ball. Now, I'm not a big Mets fan, but, just trying to give you some idea of what I like. Kingfish asked me if I've ever been out west. No, I haven't yet. Only the entire East Coast of America. And I like the East Coast. Like I said, I didn't even like the West Coast of Florida. It's no disrespect if anybody lives there, please. I'm just telling you, like, the feel was different. So, again, all decisions are based on knowing yourself. I know myself. Part of my reason in going to enjoying was also pinpointing the area in Florida I like most. I don't like desert, and if I went to California and I went all the way to the coast by the by the ocean, two things. One is it doesn't get as hot in California as it does in Florida. I actually enjoy the hot weather, specifically in the winter. So, California may be like 70-something degrees with breeze off the ocean in December. And, if you're in Fort Lauderdale, maybe it was 85 degrees with a nice ocean breeze. I actually like that 10 degrees hotter and sweating. So, that's not for everybody. And that's what I'm saying. Everything is based on who you are. Some people, I know, like I grew up with a girl, she loves cold weather. You know what I mean? She wants to be in Minnesota all year round. So it's like, it's all relative to knowing yourself. That's the key to all decisions. Not comparing yourself, knowing yourself. And as you become mature, and as you find out what works for you, what doesn't work for you, what plays to your strengths, what doesn't, then you want to gravitate everything towards playing to your strengths and playing to things that inspire you. So a home base, I mean, part of being a nomad living out of your car or van is freedom. But after you've been free for a while, and after you've been a bird and you flew everywhere, then you say, well, what's next? Then you kind of want to gravitate towards the areas that inspire you the most. And then that would be the time in your journey where you would possibly look at a home base. Because I definitely say, like I said, when I started off on my journey of downsizing my life, it was not in relation to, I'm just going to turn off that light to see if that cuts down a little bit there. No, it's probably not. When I started my journey of downsizing my life, it wasn't to live out of my car. If you watch my earlier videos from the channel, my initial thought was I just wanted to live a more simplistic life. I wanted to live below my means. When I was very young, I was living above my means. When I got to my middle age and I started paying off my debt, I wasn't living above, but I was living at my means. And then what I've come to learn is really the best quality of life is living below your means. So when I sold my condo, I could afford it, but I said, well, I want to live below my means. I just want to live more simplistic. I had more than what I needed. I was paying for more than what I needed, etc. And I didn't want to take care of all that. So then once I sold it, like I said in one of my earlier videos, I didn't want to commit to another property because I was too hurt. It's like coming out of a divorce. You don't get married right away. You have to heal. So now that it's been a year since I've been divorced from owning any property and taking care of any, how do I feel? I feel great overall. I made a video the other day. I have no regrets on my decision to downsize. And then that downsizing decision evolved into living in a car when I started watching YouTube and I saw people that actually doing it. Now, a lot of people doing it were on the West Coast, and a lot of people are doing it to pander, to make money, to, sell you a lifestyle. This is my real life. And this is what I really do. I mean, I share this with you guys, not pander. I make all my money from my job. I don't really make anything from YouTube. So I'm not selling anything. I don't ask for donations. Really, this is the documentation of my life. And what I really learned was it's tremendously freeing not having any materialism. I never thought I would be living out of my car with just one bag, especially when I don't have to. I mean, I can go tomorrow and buy another house if I want to. I mean, I'm blessed. I definitely do not want to buy a house again in my life. I mean, it's not for me. I mean, again, I don't want a family. I don't want kids. Maybe one day I would get a dog again. And if I did that, then I would have to look at some type of home base. But that's no time in the future. But what I've come to learn is a year living full-time out of my car is that there's a value in having a safe place to park every night. Now, here's Trend News. Good point you made in Florida. Little is more. Too much stuff bogs down and wastes your time. That's right. Yeah, less is more. The more you have, the more you're weighed down. Again, it's relative to what you want. I don't want to shame anyone. Because certainly if you have a family, you're not going to live out of your car. You're probably not even going to live out of an RV. You're going to need some type of house. And you're going to want some room for separation. Because if you're in a marriage or if you have kids, you need healthy boundaries. So I don't want to lead you astray and say that's for everybody. Football Boots Review, what's up, brother? Hey, what's up, man? UK's in the house. Football Boots Review, long time no see. Yeah, it's been a long time since I went live because last week I went on vacation down in Florida and it changed my whole schedule and I didn't have time to go live. I mean, now I'm back at work. I have my structured schedule, so I can't guarantee I'll be live every day because it is a little trying on me some days when there's a long day at work. But I like to do this. I mean, it's inspiring to me. I always learn something, and it's a little bit of therapeutic to share at the end of the day because I don't have a family. So this is a little bit like me sharing. Good to see Football Boots Review. Oh, it's Miss Kimberly live from Houston. Live from Houston. Hand palm up to you. Respect and love. I know I got the glasses on today and it's giving a glare, but I had a long day at work. I'm tired. I just want to be comfortable. Miss Kimberly, thank you for always encouraging me to go live. I missed you too, and I want to let you know that your words of encouragement mean a lot to me, and I think about them. I was even telling somebody at work today, I said, there's one person, she encourages me to go live, and I appreciate that. Because again, I'm a confident person. I'll do whatever I want in life, but we all still need encouragement. Don't let anybody try to tell you they don't. We all still need a pat on the back. Somebody say what you does matters. Whatever. Like I said, whether people watch this live or whether they watch. I had one guy tell me that he listens to the live streams when he goes hiking, like the playback version. After it's done going live, it saves as a video. And that was like made my day. That was encouraging to know that somebody enjoys it. It helps somebody, whether it's to unwind or whether it's to listen or whatever it is. So that's cool. And it's good to be back. And so yeah, the home base has pros and cons. You'll find that out if you ever do live full-time out of your car. I can't justify it right now as far as the freedom I'll be sacrificing. But on the other hand, I'm just talking this out now. This is just a moment for me to share with you. On the other hand, I said to myself, well, the area I scoped out in Florida, that's the area I could see myself living long-term. The problem is I don't have complete freedom yet with my job where I still have to be on site certain days. It's Miss Kimberly. It's okay if you don't do it all the time, but please don't stop. Thank you. I appreciate that. Don't say no to obligations. Yes, I listen while I'm driving sometimes. Yes, that was one of the best videos I ever do. Go to my playlist, Insights, Life Lessons and Insights, and look for the video that says say no to obligations. I believe that'll change your life. Why will it change your life? Because to be in a healthy place, one of the first things you need to learn to do is to say no without feeling guilty. When you get invited to a baby shower, say no. When you get invited to a wedding, say no. When you get invited to Thanksgiving, when you get invited to Christmas, say no. Now, should you be like me and say no to all obligations? That's up to you. I'm not going to say, but you should say no to a lot. I mean, most people shouldn't be like me and live out of my car. I mean, most people will never do that. So, but I believe that you need to say no more than you say yes. I do believe that. I can make a video just titled that. You should say no more than you say yes. No, saying no is a sign of self-respect, boundaries, and allocation for your own personal time. When you don't have your own personal time to recharge your mind, body, and soul, you will be too short with people, and you won't live a good quality life. And you won't actually be loving people. You will just be there resentful, and you're not going to be there in full spirit. And people only get blessed when you're there in full spirit. And that's kind of too why I didn't go live when I was in Florida, because I was trying to enjoy myself. I didn't want to be fixed to a live stream, and I don't want to do something under obligation. There's a part in the scriptures that said you should never give reluctantly. Now, a lot of preachers use that to manipulate people. But to me, I use that as a freeing scripture that if somebody pressures you to give, whether it's money or time or whatever, you should never give money, time, or anything. You should only give, whether it's money, time, or whatever, if it comes out of a free place in your spirit that you want to give, that you don't expect anything back. And not only do you not expect anything back, you are willing of the person who you give it to take total advantage of it. Me going live, I'm willing to go live and nobody listen, or I have to deal with sideways people that may come in negative. I mean, when you give somebody money, times in my life I've given people things and then they traded them in to get something else. And I was like, why did I even give it to her if you were just going to trade it in? But we've all done that. So what I'm trying to say is say no. And if you do say yes, you have to have no expectation to that thing. And then if it goes sideways, you have to back out, because you have to take care of yourself. All right. That's key in life. But Kingfish, one of the hardest things to do is to say no to yourself and the wants and desires to hold us back from our best life. Yes, so that's a great point, Kingfish. I'm going to reread that. One of the hardest things to do is to say no to yourself, powerful, and the wants and desires that hold us back from our best self. Saying no to yourself is also a level of self-control. It's very hard. I struggle with my weight for years. I'm probably still 25 pounds overweight technically. Saying no is very hard to ourselves and our desires. So what I get from Kingfish's thing is, like I said, as soon as I got into Florida, I had to fight that initial urge. As soon as I went down there, I felt like an urge to go look at, there was so many different RV dealerships. There were so many different RV lots I wanted to look at. I fought all that urge, and I spent the first 5 days or whatever I was down there, and I just did my thing. I stayed by the beach. I worked out. You know what I mean? I listened. I just did my thing. I explored different areas. Only the last 2 days did I look at plots of land and things like that, because that's your emotions always. Your initial emotions tend to lead you to an emotional decision, and an emotional decision is usually a bad decision. Not easy to say no, but then if you are able to say no to that initial emotional wave and you step back and you take your time and you don't rush. I truly believe that one of the keys to life is don't rush. If you can hold yourself back from rushing, I believe you will help yourself by 90%. And then the next thing is, then you have to be willing to say yes to certain dreams that you have inside. Once you've said no to your emotional urges, then you have to learn to say yes to some of the embedded dreams in your heart. if that's living like a nomad, or if that's living simply, or if that's starting a business. Again, it's all relative to what you want in life. But you know what I'm saying? There's dreams inside you that most people will spend the majority of their life just daydreaming. Don't say that in judgment, because it's very hard to go after your dreams, because there's going to be some pain involved, there's going to be some failure. But saying no to your dreams is going to be a slow death. That's the encouraging part. You will be encouraged when you actually realize that, well, yeah, it's going to be scary to go after my dream, but it's going to be more hurtful to stay the same. So that's why I do want to encourage you to go after your dream. And yes, you're going to fail. Yes, it's going to hurt. But you will be, after all is said and done, you will be better than what you started. And you will be happier than when you started. There'll be some pain in the middle, but you'll be happier than when you started. I almost let the fear and just the resistance of traveling down to Florida. I mean, I've done it a couple times now, but like when I got off work last week, I knew I was going to be on vacation for a week, but I went to go see my mother. I spent some time with her. And then I was like, do I really want to drive all the way down to Florida? And there's a resistance there. I don't want to be in the cold weather. I know I don't want to be there. There's nothing left for me to do around here. I mean, I've done everything. I've walked every area in New York. I've done all the tourist stuff. I mean, and it just doesn't inspire me anymore like that. But there's still a resistance, even though when you know you're not happy where you're at anymore. I just want to encourage you that there's still a resistance. There's still a fear that even me, last week, as much as I've been through in life and as much as I've made progress on all my dreams, I still have it. So I just want to encourage you that it's okay to have that. You're still going to have it. And then you just got to do it. Just got to put pedal to metal and just fucking do it and get to the point of no return. And last year, my first voyage in my car down to Florida, I almost turned around in South Carolina. Because I said, man, this drive is long as hell. I don't want to keep going. I almost turned around. Thank God I didn't. Changed my life. This time driving down, like I made in the video, is 100% better. Why? Experience. Going through the pain. Now I have my bed set up. I slept like a baby. I took my time. I made good stops. The ride was enjoyable. I listened to the Mason Cameron beef on the way back. It was great. It was great. So I just enjoyed it. It was a good trip for me. That was the only thing that I did want to share on regarding the trip was the home base question. Do you guys have any feedback? One is, I know I've talked to some of you personally, but if you do ever live a mobile life, would you have a home base or would you live completely mobile? Please give me a reply. Most of the people I've asked, I even asked some people like today, like at my job and stuff like that. And I think Mace won, but I think, Cameron got some stuff in on him too. But everybody's playing a game. Everybody's playing a game. Now, most people, the general consensus answer is no home base. The general consensus answer is, and look, everybody knows me by now. I'm going to do whatever I want, just like I know everybody else. At the end of the day, everybody does what they want. But I do listen to other people, especially people that aren't negative, they're giving me honest opinion. The general consensus is, Sam, if you're not married, if I wasn't married, I wouldn't have a home base. Period. It ties you down too much. Now, well, thank you, Linda. I appreciate it. And I also I have to be fair, I also need your encouragement. It's a two-way streak. So thank you, Linda, for saying you need my inspiration, and I thank you for your encouragement. And again, I just want you guys to know, too, like when you see me make videos, they're all based on where I'm at. Sometimes I make very compassionate, soft videos, and sometimes I make very rah-rah intense. Why? Because I have to get myself in a place where I need to keep going forward. And but just never know. Sometimes some of my videos, when I speak bluntly, just please, one, know that I'm never directing them at anyone. Two is, know that I am never shaming anyone. Three is, know that I always come from a place of compassion. Like, even when I'm very firm, DG, I don't even know if he's still in the chat room. That guy knows me in real life. Like, believe me, I'm probably one of the most compassionate people out there. There's people that talk real soft and nice, and you never want to fucking see them in real life. So certainly, like, I'm not going to be disrespected. I know how to handle myself, and I know how to, stand up for myself. But I'm a very compassionate person. Like, I don't fuck with anybody. I try to keep the peace and et cetera, et cetera. But I'm just be mindful of that sometimes you can say, well, this guy's talking real rough, and, I don't know how to take him. But believe me, in life, it's the people that talk very sensitive and soft, and you have to be very wary of. But you know what I'm saying. I don't want to get off to another thing. All right, so Dana, no home base for me. I have a friend that I can stay on his property if I want. Let me touch on that, and then I see it's Miss Kimberly says something too. Yeah, well, one is, the other part of that component is you are going to have to experience living in your car for a long period of time. Because most people that have given me advice on a home base have never lived in their car or van or RV for an extended period of time. They either, one, don't live in their car, van, or RV. Two is they've only done it on small interim camping trips. Or three is they're just daydreaming. So again, you have to understand that, because that's part of your decision-making process. Is most people, I've lived in my car full-time for a year. Most people will never do that. And, be careful on who you take advice from. So I have stayed on my family member's property. When I go visit my mom, I'll stay in her driveway. So that's an option. That's a good option. The only problem with that's not long-term. And I only do that when I visit my mom, because you just got to be careful that even though you have a good, healthy boundary where you're not entering their house, you're on their property. And now if you're real cool with that family member, there's some beautiful people in life, then it's whatever. But that can just become a level of contention. You just want to be careful. So even with that, like I say, I would move once in a while and stay at a rest stop or campground once in a while, just to break up the monotony and have your own space. But that's a good option, especially in the beginning. Definitely in the beginning of your journey and living in your car, van, or RV, I would not recommend a home base. You have to experience the full nomad life. I just want you to be very careful that there's some things to be legit cautious about. Like I said, I've been approached a couple times in the middle of the night at rest stops. I made the one video where one night I was approached by the cops. Is it something you should be fearful of? No. Is it something you should be aware of? Yes. And then after you've done this for a year, 2 years, or whatever, then you may have a desire for a home base. Why? Because after you've been a free bird for a while, you've visited all the areas that you want to visit. Now, some people want to visit the entire entire United States, and then an entire world. Some people only want to visit, East Coast. Some people only want to go to the West Coast. I know one nomad channel I watched, the guy only likes to stay on the West Coast. He doesn't like the East Coast. It's too crowded for him. So I may go visit the West Coast one day, but I actually enjoy the East Coast more. So it's relative to who you are. But then after a long period of time, once you see whatever it is you want to see, you're also going to say, well, then what area do I want to be around the most? And then you may look for a home base in that area. Should you buy one? It's up to you. Will I buy one at this time? Probably not. But I am thinking about it. But I just can't justify the lack of freedom I would lose right now. And so I don't personally want to do it right now. But it's just something to consider. And whenever you do consider it, just always make sure that if you do decide to commit to that you're living below your means. Because you spend money. So somebody says to me, like, Sam, yeah, you don't have a home base, so you don't have any bills. That's true as far as like a monthly mortgage or monthly HOA or utility bills, and that's all true, and I love that. And believe me, it's a blessing. So I do want to encourage you. I've never felt as free and as anxiety-free as possible than I do now. You still have bullshit you have to deal with in life, but you're going to be blessed. You are. That being said, I also know that I have a certain mentality that not too many people can move like I move. Not too many people have the wherewithal to move from, rest stop to rest stop, to go in and out, to have a little bit of street smarts, to have a little bit of edge. I mean, you have to have that. You can't walk around okie dokie, and move well in the nomad life unless you're going to go in the middle of the desert and then just plop down. So you can do it. You can do it. Hear and receive those words of life. Then, after I do that, balance it with a word of caution that there's some real shit out there. Believe me, you're going to run into some drug addicts. You're going to run into some people, especially in the middle of the night. It's not that they're evil people, but they're strung out in drugs. And let me tell you something. Growing up with a drug addict and being in different areas of my life, I don't care how much of a compassionate person you are, you will never have a rational conversation with a drug addict. When someone is strung out and desperate, there's no conversation. Like 2 nights ago when I was approached at midnight for money, I said no, and then I kept it moving. I'm not going to have a conversation with him, and I'm certainly not going to stay in that rest stop after I told him to say no. You know what I mean? But I said no, and I kept it moving. Like I didn't try to justify myself. He was trying to tell me some long-ass story. I heard all those stories. You know where they all end up? Can I borrow $5? Every long-ass story, every long-ass sad story ends up, can I borrow $5? And so you got to be careful. Because one is, like I said, you give him money, and he may see your money, that you got more money, he may take all of it. And you don't give him any money, and then he may be pissed. 90% of the time, no, 99%, nothing's going to happen. You just got to be careful. You got to be mindful. I do think you can do it. I do think it's wisdom. I want to be honest with you too. There's a level of value and security. It's a give and take. And get back to some comments. It's Miss Kimberly. I would love to travel some of the time, but I'd rather have a home base. Amen. I mean, there's wisdom in that. I think for most people, there's wisdom in it. But I think first, consolidate your life. First, get everything down. You should be able, well, you should, it's up to what you want. But if you want to live a simple life, you should be able to fit everything in your car or van. Fuck a storage unit, and excuse the language. If you need a storage unit, you have too much stuff. My sister and my mom have a storage unit, and let me tell you, you know what that thing is? It's a never visited graveyard. It's a plot, it's a graveyard plot that's never visited. And maybe once every 2 years they visit it to put a flower on it, but it's just a bunch of boxes buried in a tombstone that's useless. When you get on your journey, if you decide to live in your car, van, or RV, or you decide to be a traveler, travel light. If you need a storage unit, you have too much stuff, in my opinion. Here's it's Miss Kimberly. Do you have any safety items, or will you just put them, pause on them? Good question. Well, one is, I always say I'm humble enough, and the one is I believe in self-defense, only if provoked. Two is, any of us can be beaten. So I am not prideful where I think I can beat everybody. I try to avoid violence. Violence is not the answer. So again, I only believe in violence when it's self-defense. And I'm humble enough where I've been in enough fights where you can win some and you can lose some. You never know who you can beat and who you can't. So I think anyone that's been through real shit, like, they'll tell you that. And you want to avoid violence. You don't want to provoke it. Now, two is, Linda, good night to you. Love and respect to you. Have a peaceful night, Linda. Peaceful night to you. Peace, grace, and love to you. I was talking to somebody today that has like 3 guns. And he has them all registered. And he was telling me, and when I was down in Florida, Florida's gun city, man. There's a gun shop. There's gun shops almost everywhere. I mean, it's Miss Kimberly. You're from Texas. So, like in New Jersey, and I was talking to the guy today in New Jersey, like, he's got guns. They're all permitted. But, like, there's a lot of laws and restrictions around. Down in Florida, there was, like, gun shops, like, almost, not every street, but they were very often. And you can carry in Florida concealed and everything. Like in Jersey, that's very hard to do. So, I would consider it. They do have guns that have non-lethal rounds. I was talking to somebody about that today. Which basically means, like, you have a real gun, but it has a non-lethal round that'll pretty much stop somebody dead in their tracks where they can't do shit. Because it'll break their ribs or it'll pierce their skin, but it's not going to kill them. But, at the end of the day, too, but then you got to be careful because, one is, you live by the gun, you die by the gun to a certain extent. If you pull out a gun, you bring the level of drama to a whole nother level. And there's no turning back from that. You don't pull out a gun, and very rarely will you be able to pull out a gun, stop violence, and then be able to put it back in your holster or wherever you put it, and then there be peace. Very rarely. So I always calculate, is it worth having based on all those parameters? Because very rarely will you have a gun, you have it just at the right time, you pull it out just at the right time, you're able to use it the right way, you're able to have a documentation to prove you used it the right way, and you have no issues. It's very rare. So everybody has to make that personal decision, but there's different options. There's pepper spray. Somebody talk about knives. But I would say pepper spray is the one no-brainer that everybody should have. Will it help you in every circumstance? No. But is it a non-lethal, easy-to-use thing that is a wise self-defense mechanism? Yes. So start there, and then, do whatever you want. As long as you're lawful and you're, positive, do whatever you want. But, that's a personal decision. But, again, I've lived out of my car for a year. I've never had to use a gun. There's been different instances where people came up to me, but it's very rare, and it's nothing to be fearful of. It's just something to be mindful of. And then, too, what I'll say is, on that note, like when I had first moved out on my own, when I bought my condo, I moved into a gated community. You know what happened the first week I moved into a luxury gated community? Somebody broke into my car and like stole the Jaguar hood, emblem off my car in a gated community. So it was a young 13-year-old kid. So it's like, it can happen anywhere. Here's it's Miss Kimberly. And Miss Kimberly was in the service. She was actually in the military. I know how to shoot a gun, that's right. But I think that should be the last choice. Definitely. Look, violence, period, in my opinion, should always be the last choice. No one wins. I know people like to talk tough and people like to show bravado, but I'm telling you, seeing and being through violence, once the violence takes place and you see the aftermath, it's not a good feeling. So definitely agree with that. And I mean, obviously there's going to be certain times, like I've been through in life, where you have to defend yourself. Very rare, but there's certain times. And you just, but ultimately I think the best thing to tell you is that threaten, call the authorities. Don't try to be Superman or Superwoman. If you truly feel threatened, just call 911. And that's it, in my opinion. Okay. Dana, here in North Carolina, a lot of us carry a gun. Yes, that's what I do learn traveling, especially to the southern states. There's more of a gun culture, and I think that's part to observe in especially in New York and stuff like that. The culture as far as like legal guns, and it's not here. When you go into Pennsylvania, when you go into southern states, North Carolina, South Carolina, I did see that culture, and that the culture, it's just a different culture. Is it right or wrong? I don't think there's a right or wrong. I just think it's just different cultures. It's different ways of living. There's no right or wrong. Here in North Carolina, a lot of us carry a gun. You have to be smart about it. That's true. Hornet spray works real well. It can spray up to 20 feet. Yes, that's another great suggestion. That would be where I would start. Like pepper spray, hornet spray, mace. That's wisdom. That's a non-lethal form of protection. If you want to do something more, that's your choice. You just got to be careful that anytime you pull out a legit weapon that can hurt somebody, you escalate that situation to a whole nother level. Why? Because somebody is going to automatically now feel more threatened, and then they're going to escalate their violence. But once in a while you may need it. It's all relative. So all good points. I mean, that's part of the consideration. But I don't want you to have the impression that you should fear, okay? Because that will stop you from living your dream. And it's not, excuse me. You're not going to, the issues I've had are little to none. So, as long as you move wisely and everything like that, and you're a respectful person, you're not going to have any problems. So I would encourage you to go out there and do it. Fear is what you make it. And you know what I mean? A lot of people get stuck in their life and they never go out there and they experience life because they imagine the world different than what it is. 90% of the time, 99% of the time, nothing's going to happen to you. And there's always going to be a 1% part of life that you can never control. So you can't live in fear. If you live in fear, you'll never do anything magical. And that's not wisdom. If you can just walk away from a situation, definitely, that's wisdom. Anytime you can walk away from confrontation, and I'm not just talking confrontation regarding a violent situation with a stranger or a drug addict, I think that mindset should be applied to a family member, friend, co-worker. Anytime you get into you see the conversation is getting to a contentious point, you should walk away. Now, once in a while, there'll be a sprinkled moment where somebody's just belittling you, and you gotta, you gotta give them a little bit of your mind, whatever. But that's very rare, and even that you need to do under self-control. But one is you have to establish that you have respect for yourself. But yes, you have to have enough humility to, once a conversation or a situation gets to contention, you need to be mature enough to walk away. Because, you don't want to ruin your life for a moment of anger. I used to be cool with somebody. She used to have that on her email signature. Don't let a moment of anger cause a lifetime of regret. I think that's wisdom. Not easy, but I think that's wisdom. Don't let a moment of anger turn into a lifetime of regret. That's wisdom. Okay? So, here's, it's Miss Kimberly. But some people never even been away from their city or state. Yes, it's Miss Kimberly, 100% right. I mean, I made a video for years out of my life. I didn't leave a 30-mile radius. So it's not until I began, and I know these glasses give a glare, but it's not until I started to get into my mid to late 20s and I started to mature did I start to explore. That I started to go outside of my 30-mile radius. I started to travel. I mean, so I just want to encourage you that even if you've been frozen in fear and you've only been in a 30-mile radius for maybe the last 5-10 years of your life, get out there. Get out there. And also what I want to encourage you is you're going to leave your 30-mile radius and you're not going to initially be inspired. You're going to go past that 30 miles. You're going to say, well, this is what the fuck I left my home area for. It's not now here. You got to push past that. You got to go a little bit further each time. And eventually, through exploration, through trial and error, you find things that inspire you and places that inspire you, places that are brand new, that you've never seen, that you've never felt. And then once you've done all your exploring, then you kind of get back to what the subject is about. Then you decide do you want a home base somewhere? Again, most people will need a home base. They'll need somewhere where they call it their own. I mean, like I visited a family member's house the other day, and she got totally inspired by decorating her house. Like, that inspires her. So, I mean, I'm not going to judge that. Like, she likes to buy ornaments and, like, put them, like, around her house and stuff. That inspires her. I mean, certainly you could have a car or van, and I've seen people that they actually put, like, lights on it and they dress it up. And that inspires me. I think that's cute. Now, I won't do it because I'm a very minimalistic person. But I'm not mad at somebody who does it. So just know that, too. Know that maybe you're a person that likes to decorate. You can still decorate your car and make it, like, cute and fun and put lights on the outside. That would inspire people. Like, I guarantee you, if you had Christmas lights on your car, and you had a park, I don't think you could drive with Christmas lights on, but if you had a park and you had them, like, going, that would inspire people. They would look. Now, when you're a nomad, that's a give and take, though. You don't want too many people looking. You want to be a little stealth, unless you're in a campground. Dana, I had to learn self-control very hard. Yeah, self-control, the Bible says a person without self-control will perish. Lack of self-control, various scriptures. And one of the fruits of the Holy Spirit is self-control. Love, kindness, self-control, discipline, and a sound mind are the gifts of the Holy Spirit. If you believe in that. If you don't, respect and love you too also. But if you believe in the Bible, this is the New Testament, Christian faith, that the gifts of the Holy Spirit are love, peace, self-control, self-discipline, and sound mind. And, that's powerful. But it's not easy. We all fail. We're all human, so we all fail. We all lose self-control. We all get pissed. We all say shit we shouldn't. But it's a goal. I always say, like, don't be ashamed to have a goal, even if you don't make it all the way. Like, initially, when I started out changing my diet, I had a goal of being a vegetarian. Did I become a vegetarian right away? No. But I became 50% more of a vegetarian right away. And I cut out 50% of meat. Then I got up to, 70%. I mean, now I'm 95% vegetarian. 5% of the time I have fish. So I'm what they call a pescatarian. So you have to have a goal. Maybe you'll never get to 100%, but you will always end up better than what you started. If you have a goal of self-control, does it mean you will always have self-control? No, but it means you'll probably have more control of yourself than if you've never had that goal. So that's why it's wisdom to speak that word over your life and to recognize that self-control is a gift from the Holy Spirit, and it's a goal to have. Doesn't mean you're always under self-control, though. It's Miss Kimberly says all the women on Snapped. Oh, I missed something. But some people never been away from the ear. Says all the women on Snap. Now, I got you. Miss Kimberly's big on the gram, too. Respect and love this Miss Kimberly. Beautiful girl. Over 13,000 followers and does hair and makeup. Dana, I am truly blessed. Yes, Dana, you are truly blessed. Why are you truly blessed? You have a great attitude. I mean, in all my conversations, now I'm sure it's different between connecting with somebody and living with somebody. If any of us live with each other, it's always going to be the closer you get to somebody, the more imperfections you see. But you also know when you're dealing with an asshole and when you're dealing with a decent person. Nobody's good. There's decent people and there's just assholes. Should you judge the assholes? No. Should you take shit from them? No. But you should just move on with your life. Don't lock heads. Jane Hill, good evening. Good evening to you, Jane Hill. Love and respect to you. First time viewer, good evening to you. Love and respect. Jane, yeah, I was talking, mainly when I do my live streams, it's a little bit of a freestyle. This subject was centered around a home base. If you live in a car, van, or RV, or if you have a dream to do that, is a home base worth it? The bottom line is the value of a home base, and I'm talking about a piece of land, not a physical building, but a piece of land, whether it's an RV lot, just a paved lot with utilities, or just a raw piece of land, is that you have a safe, secure spot to park. Because the biggest problem being a nomad is finding a place to park at night and your safety. You put your safety at a little bit higher risk when you live full-time out of your car and you don't own property to park it on. So it's a give and take, though. You lose a lot of freedom. So, that's the bottom line. And then overall, we just freestyle. We talk about different things. I've been talking about my trip to Florida. My trip to Florida was great. I learned more and more that for me, one of my goals is to be a continue. Jane, I watched you before. Just want to be free. Amen. Jane, thank you. Jane, thank you for watching, and thank you for leaving a comment, and thank you for the nice emoji with the face smile. I hear you, Jane, and I think it's wisdom to want to be as free as possible. I've never been as peaceful as I am now as far as the anxieties, and that's why I'm very hesitant to buy anything else, and that's why I didn't make an offer on that piece of land. As tempting as it is, as great location, and even though it would still be below my means, it comes with a mental price. You know, just that mental anxiety of being tied down. There's something to be said for that. Now, you gain maybe a peace of mind where you have a fixed location, something to be said for that. But then you also have a little bit of a mental anxiety of, you know, you're in an obligation. You're in a commitment. And being free is good for the soul. Just got to be careful, because after, you know, you're totally free, and especially for sometimes people just end up self-destructing, is what I will say. Because freedom is a blessing. Everybody should be free. But what I've learned in life is a lot of people can't handle it. It's like idle time is the devil's playground. And you give people too much free time and not enough obligation, and they'll self-destruct. So you just got to be careful. But I don't think, again, I say that, but I want to put that in context. I don't think that should make you fearful of being free. I think it's all of our destiny to be as free as possible and to define your own life. Don't let me define your life. I'm just sharing my life. Dana, if it was the right thing to do, your gut would have told you to do it. Dana, that's a good comment. I always have mixed emotions when I hear that. To some extent, I believe you're fully right. Your gut, your inner spirit, your Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it, your gut instinct has a level of wisdom. But also, as I believe Kingfish might have said in an earlier comment, you always have to be mindful that your initial jerk reaction may just be pure emotion. So you have to balance that thought out. Now, you have to follow your gut, but then you also have to ask yourself honestly, is this my emotions talking, and is this long-term what I really am going to not just want, but need, and it's going to fulfill me? There's no one answer. There's no one answer. I don't want to sit here and pander to you. Decisions are not easy. I'll do a whole live stream on that. Decisions are not easy. One of the things I really learned through selling my house and making big decisions is I realize now why most people don't do it. Why? Decisions are hard as hell. And let me just read a couple comments. Jane, amen. I am in a position to make a decision. Idle time is a devil's playground. Thumbs up to you. It's Miss Kimberly. It also could be right, all caps, but not right now. Amen. Good comments. And that's why I love and appreciate everyone here. So one is Jane saying that she's making decisions. So one is, I just want to encourage you that decisions are hard. But I want to encourage you that not making decisions make you suffer longer. So make decisions. Even if you make the wrong ones, make decisions centered around freeing your spirit as much as possible, living as simple as possible. Because then, once you have simplified your life, you can always build on top of that. But what I've learned in my experience, oh, Gilbert, what's up, Gilbert Patterson? Love and respect to you, Gilbert. Hello, brother. Gilbert was a cool guy I connected with when I did a post about would I do a home base or not in Florida. And Gilbert was either telling me that he lives in Florida, or he was thinking about the same thing. And he was just giving me back and forth feedback on what his thoughts were on it. You know, he asked me would I go partnership on it, not necessarily him, but just would I connect. I wouldn't do that. What's going on, brother? Yeah, everything is good. I had a long day at work, but I'm thankful, I'm blessed, I'm positive. How was your day? So Gilbert left a real cool message. One is I don't believe in partnerships, but that's just me. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it, but some of the most hardest situations I had to get out of were dual commitments, partnerships, commitments that were tied up in either financial obligations or emotional obligations. Once you commit in a joint venture, whether it's financially or emotionally with somebody else, you just made your life double harder. Because it's hard enough, what I've learned in life, it's hard enough, we were just talking about this, to make your own decision for yourself. You know, and I have tremendous compassion on people that get stuck in the same spot. You know what I mean? Do I excuse it? No. I like to fire people up and say, look, do it. You can do it. But I have tremendous compassion on why people stay stuck, because decisions are hard. So then if you get into a situation where you're in a commitment with another person, financially or emotionally, to get both people to decide the same thing at the same time, oh, that's very hard. And that's why relationships fail. That's why a lot of businesses fail, because keeping people on the same page, even good, honest, loving people, keeping them on the same page is very hard. And if I made a commitment to a property, it'd be hard enough for me to wrap my mind around committing to that financially. I certainly wouldn't want to commit with another person. Not because I don't love them, not because I don't respect them, but it's just because I know me. Again, the genesis to your entire life is knowing thyself. You have to know you, because I'm different than you. We're not better or worse than each other, but we're all a little bit different. We all have the core needs of love, of freedom, of self-expression, but we're all a little bit different on how we move. So knowing yourself and knowing how you like to move in life is the first unwrapping of your decision-making process. Once you know yourself, then you can make a good decision for yourself. Then, you know what I mean, it's all a matter of personal preference and, you know what I mean, looking at all things considered. Jane, I got to go back to some comments. I'm sorry, I missed a few. Jane, thing is, what's the right decision? Well, the right decision is like, what's truth? It's an endless quest. There is no one final right decision. There is no one absolute truth in one sense of speaking. It's an ongoing journey. To me, the right decision is the decision that keeps you the most free, puts less burden on your soul, and plays to your strengths. We're all different. Again, should someone who doesn't like hot weather buy a home base in Florida? Hell no. Should somebody who likes to change the seasons and snow, should they buy a home base in Florida? Hell no. Should somebody who is married or has a lot of family member in a different state, if they have all their family member in California and they like spending time with family, should they move to a different? No. I mean, you have to know your situation. Should somebody, you know what I mean? I mean, you know, if your job, you know, it's all relative. I don't want to get into a big spiel, but the right decision is based on knowing yourself and then playing to your strengths. And then accepting, here's the key part, we don't always make the right decision. I want you to give yourself the freedom to not always make the right decision without shaming yourself. You may make the wrong one, but make a decision. The worst decision you can make is no decision. But take time, don't rush. Wisdom is not rushing, but balance it with urgency. I got to go back a little bit. I'll start getting my soapbox. I apologize. Some once in a while I get fired up. But I'm a little bit calm tonight because work got me beat up a little bit. Sorry, Gilbert. It was okay, but it's better listening to you now. I appreciate that. Thank you, Gilbert. I totally agree. Thank you, Gilbert. Love and respect to you, brother. Dana, too much work for me. I like to be free. Yeah. Now, and I'm missing a couple comments yet. Now, that's the problem that why I never want to go back to a physical house. I don't want to clean. I don't want to work. Now, the only reason I would even look at a home base for RV is because it's just a pay. Now, I don't want. When I say a home base too, now for me, everybody's different. I'm talking about a paved lot in like a community with like a hookups, electrical, sewer, etc. I'm not talking about like a raw piece of land like in the middle of nowhere. So for a paved lot in Florida by the beach, that would inspire me and that would play to my strengths. Now, I don't feel it would be too overwhelming as far as being tied down, because at the end of the day, like if I bought like a $10,000 like used travel trailer or something like that or whatever, you know, if I decide I want to move on with my life, I get rid of that trailer and I'm just selling a paved lot. Like I don't have to do a bathroom renovation to sell my house. Like I had to get my house all prepped and ready to sell it. Like we got to do renovations, you got to make it presentable. You know what I mean? You got to change the water heater. You know, if you got an RV, what I like about the RV lifestyle is that it's simpler. Is it as simple as living out of your car carefree like me with no home base? No. I'm living the simplest, freest life you can live in a modern society. That being said, I know everybody couldn't move like me. Not because I'm not better than anyone. But what I'm trying to say is, you know, I put up a lot of shit. I mean, I move a lot. I move every other night sometimes. And, you know, like I said, sometimes people approach me in the middle of the night and you have to be willing to tell people no. And it may be, you know, maybe something. So, you know, sometimes, you know. So it's like, you know, do most people want to deal with that? No. Most people at the end of a long work day, they don't want to sit in the parking lot and do a live stream. They want to go home, sit in front of their big screen TV, order pizza and chill. So you have to ask yourself, what type of person are you? One's not better than the other. It's just about knowing yourself. Because again, 10, 15 years ago, I would not want to do what I'm doing now. It's all relative to the season you're at in life too. But the wisdom is, if you did decide to get a home base, just get a lot or land. I mean, RVs are depreciating assets, so I always have a tough time saying you should buy an RV. That's the downside. But it's still cheaper than a conforming regular house in most situations. Now, certainly there's RVs that are hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, but I'm talking about, I want small, and I don't even really want an RV. I will park my car on that lot, but they won't let you. You need an RV with hookups. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of downside. But certainly too, like if you are a person that maybe you do one day want like a companion or you want a dog, a home base I think is almost needed. In one sense, not necessarily, but if you want, even if you want a family, and if you like to have people come over and visit, that's the value of a home base, is you can entertain a little bit. I don't want that at all. I mean, the only value, let me correct myself, is like I said, I have an older mother. So like if I bought a home base in Florida, I do see that as a value that I could tell her to come down there and she could just stay on my lot. If I had a little RV, let her stay there, I would just sleep in my car. So one is I live my own life, you know what I mean? And my mother's older, but I still do. My mom's been a blessing in my life. I like to spend quality time with her when I can while still living my own life. I mean, that's the biggest challenge too. I mean, that's really reason why I'm able to do what I do for a year, live out of a car. Because other than my mother, I have no family for the most part. I mean, so I live free as a bird. I mean, most people, they want a family or they have kids or so you got to take all that into consideration. Unless you're older and you're an empty nester, it's all relative. Should anything stop you from living your dream? No. Even if you're in a relationship and whatever situation, if you have kids, I don't want to discourage anyone from living their dream. I just want you to be responsible and balance everything. But I certainly don't want to put restrictions on you, and I certainly don't want to instill fear. I want to instill confidence and love and encouragement to push forward. Just consider all factors, because I'm also not a person that panders and just like I don't make nomad videos and just like okie dokie. Like I try to give you real life and give you the pros and the cons, but ultimately just always understand that I'm coming from my perspective. And my perspective, it may be different than yours. And that's okay, because that's what makes the world turn. If everyone lived in their car, the world wouldn't turn. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the world's got to turn, so everybody should just be them. I want you to be you, whoever you are. You know what I'm saying? As long as it's positive. I got to go back to some comments. Dana said too much work. Yes, I agree. Gilbert, should you compromise just to make others happy? Great question, Gilbert. Good question. Gilbert asked, should you compromise just to make others happy? If you're in a marriage, it's something you have to consider. Because if you're in a marriage, technically you believe two people have become one. So I think in that type of situation, there's a level of compromise that's needed. Now, certainly if your marriage is no longer in a healthy place, I'm okay with a divorce. But you need to define that. So you need to ask yourself, if you're in a marriage, is it a marriage in a healthy place, and are you staying in that marriage? If you are, then there needs to be a level of compromise. If there can't be compromise and you're no longer in a healthy place, then there may need to be the divorce. I mean, so my parents got a divorce. I thank God they did. I pushed my mom to get a divorce. Why? Because neither one of them can compromise. My mother was real messy and she was real liberal, and my father was real neat freak and like real, not like conservative politically, but he was like real conservative, like how he likes shit. And the two different type of people going in two different directions, there's only so much you can compromise. Like, you know what I mean? Is Trump going to really compromise with Obama? No. I mean, and is one right or wrong? It's all who you like. So, should there be compromise? Yes. But with certain people, they don't compromise. So, when certain people can't compromise, you just got to step away from it. Because then all it is contention. I mean, we see that in politics. We see that in real life. There's certain people that just they don't vibe with each other. And I don't want to bash one person or the other. All I want to say, what I want to always say to you, is that you should always put yourself in a healthy situation. And the minute you don't feel in a healthy situation, you should get out of that situation. Period. Even if it meant a divorce. Or even if, it meant, changing a job. I don't want to always make it like a marriage thing. Like, there's been jobs I've been at that haven't been a healthy job. I did what I had to do. I didn't just quit, but then I started looking for another job. And that's part of the reason why, too, like, I'm not willing to leave my job right now, because I'm blessed to have a good job. I've had shitty jobs. And I know that it's not easy finding a good job, okay? Because I've been through the ups and downs of life. So, should you compromise? Only when only when there's a level of mutual respect, and only when there's a level of a mutual goal. If two people don't have that mutual level of respect, there's no compromise. Example, like, you know what I mean? A couple times, like, people strung out on drugs came to me in the middle of the night. Can I really compromise with them? I mean, I keep it moving because I grew up with a drug addict. I mean, you know, certain people you can't compromise with. There's no talk. You can't have a rational conversation because they're irrational. Does it mean they're evil and you should belittle them? No. Like, everybody, you know what I mean? Look, life is hard. And I'm not one of these people that tell you, like, you know, it's easy, just go ahead and get your life together. I know life is hard as hell sometimes, especially depending on your life situation. But what I'm trying to tell you is the only thing you can do is control you. So if two people respect each other, if there's a level of sanity where there's mutual goals and dreams, and then there should be healthy compromise. If there can't be, then you have to respectfully, you know, go your own way in life, or else you're just going to live a resentful life. That's my overall answer. Obviously, there's many layers to that depending on a person's personal circumstance, but that's my general answer to that, Gilbert. Jane, amen. It's hard and I'm afraid of being alone. Yes, Jane, what I encourage you about, it's hard being alone, but it's harder being in an unhealthy relationship. It's hard making decisions, but it's harder to not make a decision. And that's what encourages me, because once in a while I feel that too. I'm human. Like, I don't give a fuck what people think, but I'm still human. Like, I still, like, sometimes I get scared. You know, sometimes I get lonely. You know, sometimes, you know what I mean, I get insecurities. But then I say, you know what? One is, the loneliest you'll ever be is in an unhealthy relationship. The most unfulfilled you'll ever be is not making any decision and staying the same. So once you realize that, that's freeing. Then you say, I have to go forward. I have to go forward with or without people. Not because I want to step over people, just because there's something in my spirit that I have to go forward. Alone, I have to go forward alone, and I have to go forward no matter how much people mock me. I have to go forward. And that's the mindset you have to have. And if you don't have that mindset, you're not going to be able to. And that's why once in a while, like you see my videos, like I got to get to a place where I don't give a fuck, you know, where I'm under control, but I have to go forward. You know what I mean? And that's where you have to be sometimes. Life is an adventure. It is an adventure. Jane said, Gilbert, it would be cool if your partner wants the same thing. Yeah, you know, that's the key. Again, whether it's a lover, whether it's a business person, business venture, whatever. I mean, overall, two people may have a different way, and two people may have different ideas, but there has to be an overall unity of, this is our end goal. Even then, it's hard, but that's the answer. Yeah. It's Miss Kimberly. Speak that hand clap emoji. Thank you, Miss Kimberly. Love and respect to you. Beautiful. It's Miss Kimberly from Houston. That's so true. Gilbert, good answer. Thank you. I was beginning to think that you were that there were no more thinkers left. No, there's more thinkers left, and there's more compassionate people. There's more loving people. The key is, and what I've learned in life, look, I think the majority of people are. I mean, I've seen so many different things in this world, and that's been a blessing in my life. And what I've come to realize is, you know, most people actually, I try to avoid the word good because we're all fucked up a little bit as far, you know, Jesus said, like, no one's good. Like, there's a lot of good, decent people that are fair and loving and compassionate. The problem is the 1% of assholes are so vulgar, or so hurtful, or so disrespectful that it puts such a stain on your spirit that it makes you want to hate everybody. And I've been there too. I said, man, this world's shit. But there's good people out there. And like I said, like, I ran into some bad things, like basically living out of my car. Once in a while you meet bad people, but it's 1% of the time. 99% of the time it's going to be all love. And that's anything in life. You know what I mean? No matter how you move in life, you live in a mansion, you live in a beautiful community, you live in a shitty community, for the most part, I mean, 99% of your time, you know, people will just keep it moving with you. 1% of the time, you know, you're just going to be irrational, nasty people. And for those people, you just have to keep it moving. You just have to, you know what I mean? You just have to boundary up and just go your own way. Because there's no talking to them. You know what I mean? I've tried it. I've tried it for years. I think, well, maybe if I'm more compassionate, maybe if I'm more understanding, maybe if I compromise more, then maybe I can, you know, meet this person halfway. But there's two types of people in this world, givers and takers. And for the takers, no matter how much you give, it'll never be enough. And I've learned that in life through the hard way. So do you judge the takers? No, but You have boundaries, and you are confident enough to say no, and you let people judge you. You let people mock you, and you say whatever. As long as you are treating people fairly and just, then that's it. That's all you can do. And then you got to go your own way. And even when you treat people fairly and just, they still got a problem with you. And those are the 1% bad people. You just got to keep moving. Never. That has been like that since the beginning of time. It'll always be like that. Don't let the 1% or 10% bad people turn you off from the 90% good. Because the 90% good people, like, they don't want any problems. So, like, they don't like, make a big noise about being good. They just do them. But the 10% of people, they're screaming, they're yelling, they're making an issue. And then you look up and you're like, that's the whole world. But that's not the whole world. That's 10% of the world. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, I got to get back on some comments. I know I got my soapbox. Sorry about that. 22 years old. Oh, that's an interesting comment. Shiloh, love and respect to you. Shiloh is checking in. 22 years in an RV. Well, we can all learn something then from you. 22 years in an RV, all different types of home is where I sleep. Shiloh, well, great perspective. So, Shiloh, 22 years you've lived in an RV. Do you have a home base, and have you ever had a home base? What are your thoughts on that? Jane, I'm in a position to be able to be a van or something. Really want to do it. Well, Jane, if you can responsibly do it, I think you should do it. Is it going to be 100% good? No, but I think it'll be better. Just be mindful that it's going to be hard in the beginning, and you got to move a lot if you're not going to have a home base. You got to go from, you got to go to different Walmarts, you got to go to different rest stops. But I think you can do it. I think you can do it safely. I think you can be a positive citizen. And, I think it'll be freeing to your soul. I want to speak life to you. I'm just giving you balance. So do it. Do it, in my opinion. Dana, sometimes you have to distance yourself from what you know. That's true. Distance yourself from what you know, even if you're scared. Yes, very hard, but that's true. God will guide you. I believe in God, and I believe in the Spirit. That's right. God will guide you, and the right people will come into your life. Amen. I agree with that. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Amen. Amen. Yes, sometimes you have to cut people off completely, and it's going to be scary. You're going to cry a lot. You're going to feel fear, and you're going to maybe once in a while call them and text them and check in. And then once you check in, you're going to say, oh, shit, I should have never checked in with this person. And you're going to have to go back and forth through failure. But keep going forward. Amen. Gilbert, I am 53 and have been trying to fit in. And now what I try to do is just leave myself open for others to fit in with me. Amen. And without all the change. Amen, Gilbert. Be you. That's what my circle says. You just summarized it. Amen, Gilbert. That's right. That's wisdom, brother. And I would say keep being you. And whoever doesn't like you, and like you said, you shouldn't have to fit in. Just be yourself and let the chips fall where they may. I agree with that. Jane, I want to be free. Smiley emoji. Yeah. Freedom, there's something deep inside all of us that want to be free. And freedom is embedded in the human being. And when there is not freedom, there will never be peace. So, now obviously when we're talking about as far as a nomadic life and freedom and how it relates to that, like I said, there's nothing can beat living out of your car or van. There's tremendous freedom. You just have to be careful because there's some downside. Is it worth it? For me, yes, I still do it. And like I said, it's very hard for me to commit to even a home base. I'm not saying I won't, but what I'm trying to say is, yes, it will help your spirit. Now, again, it's a goal. So even if you never, I think you can do it, and I think you should live it if you want to live out of your van. But even if you never got to live out of your van, even if you downsized your life and threw out 90% of your crap and maybe either moved into a smaller place or whatever, you're still better than what you started. So the mindset of you want to simplify your life is a great goal. How you define it for you is personal decision. And I respect that, whatever you want to do. But I think that goal for all people is wisdom. Living simply and living below their means. Then with regards to a home base, then with regards to an RV, car, van, that's all personal preference. And I want you to do you. I want you to be you, like my man Gilbert said. Like, I don't want to control people, and I don't want other people to control me. As long as there's positivity and respect, I want you to be you. Whatever that is for you. I'm sorry. NYC here, Gilbert, yes. NYC in New Jersey, love and respect. What borough are you from? If you want to share, you don't have to share. Shiloh, I have a truck repair business. That's my home base. Okay, Shiloh, that's an interesting perspective. Yes, and I do notice So Shiloh owns his own repair shop, and that's where he parks his, I would assume, RV. I believe he said RV. Shiloh, do you have a Class A travel trailer, Class B, or Class C? Now, when I was looking, like, if I bought this home base, I don't want to pull something, but travel trailers are the cheapest. Like, even like used Class Bs and Class Cs, like, they're expensive. Brand new Class C, cheapest one I saw was like 70,000 in that range. And buy a used one and everything like that, it's tough to find a good deal because the economy's still high. People aren't like letting stuff go like that. But yeah, well, I'll just say travel trailers are the cheapest, but the problems with the travel trailers is you have to have a car that'll pull them. I live out of a Jeep Renegade. I don't have a pickup or anything. So and then I really don't like the work of pulling something. Not that it's a lot of work, but I'm just sharing. Like, I'm a simple guy. I like simple stuff. So if I did get an RV, I like the aspect of a Class C or a Class B because, like, you just get in that vehicle and you go. You're not hitching anything. That being said, that comes at a premium. It's all relative. Those Class B and Class C, they're more expensive. Now, certainly you can get into a Class A, but that's like a bus. To me, that doesn't even inspire me. It's too big. But that's just me. Let me get back to some comments here. Dana, face your fear and you will find out it's not all that bad. Amen. Even a small fear, like, it doesn't have to be like, you climbing Mount Everest. It doesn't have to be like you were climbing Mount Everest. I had fear last week, and not like fear, but a resistance, I would call it, of, leaving my town and going to Florida, not because I was scared of it, I've done it before, but leaving my mom during Thanksgiving and not being with her. Fear of just, the familiar. Fear of the familiar. It's not fear of Freddy Krueger. Fear of the familiar is a real thing, and you have to push past that. That's the only way that you get to your destiny. It's so true. Jane, I feel like I'm in a prison in my apartment. Well, amen, Jane, because I felt very confined the last 2 years of me having a condo, and I felt like it was a prison. I got resentful. I got bitter going back to the same place, seeing the same things, and I was blessed to have a nice condo in a nice community. But I was still like, that season was over. And when God shows you a season is over, you will never be at peace until you move on to the next season. So again, that's actually encouragement, because that helps you make your decision. When you realize that no matter what paint colors you paint your walls, no matter how many renovations you do, the season of your life in that dwelling is no longer there, then that's confirmation that I can do a million renovations. I don't want to be here anymore. And maybe I don't want a conforming life anymore. I want to live mobile. I want to live in a travel trailer. I want to live in a car. I want to live in a van. You know what I mean? So, like I said, when I started off my journey, I didn't start with I want to live in a car. I just started off, I wanted to live in a small, like, studio, a condo on the beach. Just a cheap little condo. Couldn't find one. I saw somebody on YouTube living in a car. So shit. And it was like some hot chick that I don't even think she really lives in her car. But I started watching her because she was hot. And next thing I know, I was encouraged enough to live out of my car. And a year later, here I am. So God will even use somebody who's fake to inspire you. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. Gilbert, you are so cool and blessed with wisdom. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that love and respect. Thank you. Same to you, brother. Thank you. Shiloh, because I live as I do, I have no debt freedom. Well, and Gilbert's from Queens. Love and respect to Q, bro. Nas, one of my favorite rappers. Well, what I will say with that is, Shiloh makes a great point. Debt is a huge burden. A mortgage is a level of debt. Now, you have an appreciating asset when you have a house or land, but it's still debt. And one of the other comments from Blue Dream I got about my home base was, he said, Sam, well, really you're going back into the cycle of being owned by the banks. Because, I would get a loan on a property. I wouldn't buy it cash. I had to put 30% down. The land, again, was, for those who didn't watch the video, the RV lot in Florida by the beach was $75,000 to buy the lot. You have to put $30,000 down. The most you can get loan on is a 15-year loan. It's like 5% interest. So it's like $300 a month. $200 HOA fee, that's $500. $100 a month taxes, $600. Another $100 a month utility bills, $700 a month. So that's a level of debt in one sense of speaking. But the only thing I will say is that the end goal is always to live below your means. Because even though I don't have any debt living out of my car, I spend a lot of money in gas. So when you have a home base, a little of that may be eliminated if you plan to stay in that area for 6 months or whatever, but it's not enough to justify the total expense. But it's all relative, because even like as I live mobile, I mean, you know, like Shiloh, like he has an auto repair shop. So that land, I'm sure he owns that land or he's renting that land. That comes at a cost. So, but that cost gives him a level of security and also a level of commerce. He's able to do business. All business is based on debt. You don't do business based on cash. Why? Because you can never grow. The only way you really grow a business in today's society is you got to have a level of debt. So the key is always, I believe in having little to no debt as possible, but I always want to be fair that in life, there's going to be certain times where debt is needed. So my message is live below your means. Not above your means, which I have for years, not at your means even, which I did for the past few years, but below your means. Meaning that your expenses, your fixed expenses are maybe 25% of your income or lower, total. That's very hard to do for most people. But the goal, even if you never get there, you will get better. The goal should always live below your means. If you can get totally debt-free and never have another, believe me, I'm pretty much living that dream. So it's totally freeing. Again, I put up with some shit though. Like, I'm sorry guys, I got cut off. Sometimes like I said, it's totally freeing being debt-free. I am, and I live in my car for the most part. But it comes with a little bit of negatives. But overall, still worth it, in my opinion. Good comment, Shiloh. Good comment. I'm sorry, let me go back on some comments here. Q Burrow. Shiloh, I have a 40-foot fifth wheel, so that's a big RV. Okay, nice one. And I also have a 23-foot Class C. I like Class Cs. The fifth wheel up for sale next spring, as well as the Class C, is perfect. Are you going to sell both RVs, Shiloh? What are you going to live out of? If I understand your comment correctly. I like Class Cs. It's Miss Kimberly. Fear of the unknown. Yeah, fear of the unknown will scare the shit out of you. Because we as people, we like certainty. Change requires uncertainty. It requires going from the normal daily routine to the unnormal daily routine. When you travel to another state, that's change. It's the fear of the unknown. When you get to that new state, where are you going to go? Your schedule is going to be different. The stores you go to are going to be different. So just the unknown of that whole different routine will paralyze a lot of people and cause them not even to go because it gets too overwhelming. You have to push past that. That's a good comment, it's Miss Kimberly. Amen, Jane said. Thumbs up, thank you. It's Miss Kimberly. I just use my apartment to sleep in, which is sad because I feel like I'm throwing money away. Now, it's Miss Kimberly. I agree with that because that's how I kind of felt too at the end of my run in my condo. I felt like, if anything, I was only using, the bedroom, the bathroom, and a little bit of the kitchen, but not enough to justify the amount of money I was spending. If you're single, you can easily live out of a van or car or whatever. And maybe, like it's Miss Kimberly, I know you may not completely want to do that, and I know you did say you may want a family one day, but maybe you can find a cheaper apartment. I don't know. But in Texas, too, there's a lot of campgrounds and stuff. You could definitely, live out of an RV or something. But I feel your pain on that, and that was kind of the thing that pushed me. I said, I got all this wasted space, and I could even afford it. I was living at my means, not above. But I said, for what? I'm not inspired anymore. All I'm doing is sleeping here. And that's like kind of at night. Like if I have a bad night or something. I mean, now I have a pretty much good routine. I mean, now I've been a year, so I know all the ins and outs for the most part. But once in a while, when I get an emotional wave, I'm like, Sam, just stay busy. Because at the end of the night, all you're going to do is sleep anyway. And I tire myself out, and then I sleep like a baby. And then in the morning, I wake up, and I got a brand new mind. And, there's a scripture that also says, weeping may endure a night, but joy comes in the morning. Don't make decisions when you're tired. When you're tired at the end of the day and when you're over emotional, you're not going to make proper decisions. Sleep on it, renew your mind. And if you wake up, this is what happened to me. If you wake up and it's still gnawing at you day after day after day, then you have to change. Then you know it's not just an emotional wave. Then you know it's something inside your being that's calling you to something else. And that's God pushing you, in my opinion. Dana, Good night, Sam. Really tired. I understand that. Yeah, it's getting. I understand. We're almost done. Good night. Tired. Worked in the yard all day. Yeah, well, it's a good day for you. 70 degrees in North Carolina. I'm not mad at that. It has to look so nice so I can sell it. Well, good luck on your sale. Good luck on your sale. Keep me posted on that. Do you have it up on the market yet? Good night, Dana. Thank you for all your love and support. God bless you to my friend. Love from NC, North Carolina. North Carolina, love and respect to you, Dana. Thank you. Thank you, love and respect. And Gilbert showing you love. Good night, Dana. Yes, love and respect. It's Miss Kimberly. What? Question mark. Exclamation mark. Nas. Question mark. Oh, we best friends now. Oh, and then we got like the hands together emoji. Yeah, I love Nas. Nas, one of my favorite rappers. AZ, liked Tupac, big fan. Yeah, but Nas definitely, for me, top 3. I loved it. I mean, it's definitely helped me a lot of nights. Music is inspiration. Now, it's all relative to who you are, what your musical tastes are. Some people like country, some people like classical, some people like rock. So always know that it's all relative to what you like. But the value of music is the music that you like speaks to your soul. And music has inspired me in different times of my life. And when I get depressed or when I have anxiety, I put on music. And for me, it's rap and R&B. But for you, it may be rock. For you, it may be country. So it's like, it's all love, whatever you like and whatever, you're used to or whatever. But music heals the soul, period. I believe in that. Okay. Jane, you're paying to be stuck. Yeah, I mean, a fixed house, a fixed location, you're tying yourself down to a certain area. And human nature is we outgrow certain areas. I think the average person, I would like to Google that. If anybody has a Google, I can't Google while I'm on a live stream. Somebody Google what's the average length someone stays at a house. Okay, so if somebody buys a house or they're renting a house, what's the average duration? Is it 7 years? Is it 15 years? Can anyone Google that and leave a message? And leave a comment? Gilbert, for real, it's Miss Kimberly. Oh, all right. It's Miss Kimberly, so true. At Gilbert, laugh out loud, and then give the pound emoji. Just before dawn. Live from Georgia, from Atlanta, love and respect just before dawn. Hey, chat room, hey, just before dawn. Jane, do you have advertising? Because I keep getting cut off. No, I don't have advertising. Well, the channel is monetized, meaning ads run. I'm getting cut off because my reception gets bad, and then I don't know how it works. See, now I'm going on, my timer says 1 hour and 47 seconds. 1 hour and 47 minutes we've been on the air. So I don't know how like YouTube does it. Like after every 20 minutes, they may run an ad. I'm not on the other end of a live stream, so I don't know. But it may be like that depending on your thing. Just before dawn, it's a wonderful 64 degrees. Yeah, I was just down. I passed through Georgia. Here, it feels so wonderful to be warm. It's the best time of the year to live in Georgia and Florida. I mean, I even like it warmer than 64. Like I said, when I was in Florida, it was 85 degrees and sunny. I loved it. Some people thought it was too hot. I loved it. Now, I was by the beach. But good to see you just before dawn. Love and respect to you. It's Miss Kimberly. Nah, cheap comes with a price. Yeah, cheap does come with a price somewhat. Now I'm looking to have a family. Now I'm not looking to have a family tomorrow. Now Miss Kimberly's hot. Everybody check for her. She's single if you're trying to get at her, but she's only gonna take the best. Laugh out loud. Maybe I'll meet someone who wants to live the nomad life with me. Well, I think it'd be magical if you could find somebody that wants to live the nomad life. I've seen a couple channels where people get with each other or they're married or whatever, and like they live in their van or whatever. I think a lot of that's fake. And then like after a while, like they eventually move out. Again, what I saw on YouTube is the average person living out of their car or van is 6 to 8 months. That's what I saw. No scientific study behind that. Now, after that, I do see people living long-term in their RVs. So, certainly you can find somebody that likes that lifestyle. But like back to my man Gilbert's statement, is Miss Kimberly, should you compromise? Yes, but only if whoever you meet, if God bless, if you want a relationship and you meet somebody, like they should have somewhat of a similar style as you, as far as how they want to move in life. Like they're attracted to the nomad life. Like I don't think like if you want to be a nomad that you should get with somebody that wants to live in a mansion. Like if you want to live a simple life, like with minimalism, you shouldn't get somebody that's materialistic. Not to say that one's bad or one's good. I mean, everybody should do them. But I want, you have to be evenly yoked where you have similar core interests. in my opinion. Do what you want. Oh, 3 laugh out louds emojis and the hand to the face. Gilbert, Miss Kimberly, where are you from? Yeah, it's Miss Kimberly's hot. She's a beautiful girl, good spirit. She was from the Army. Maybe going to open up a waxing store. Now, again, I like women a little hairy, truth be told. But Miss Kimberly will wax you up if that's what you want, okay? So, God bless. God bless. She was from the Navy. Love and respect. And she's got 13,000 followers on Instagram. It's amazing. Now, did you pay for them? They said Mace paid for some subscribers, but then when he had the beef, his thing went up. I don't know. That being said, I don't want to be long-winded. We had a good night. It's almost 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. It's Miss Kimberly's from Houston, Texas. Now, again, she is single, and she is looking for a relationship, but she's not going to be with just anybody. And she wants to top. So it's Miss Kimberly. Let me ask you this. We'll close on this. Who is your favorite celebrity crush? Is it Nas? Is it whoever? I don't know. Gilbert, I am retired barber thinking about taking it on the road. Gilbert, I think me and you connected because we have a similar mind where we like being mobile. I think you should try it. If you're not, well, Gilbert, do you have a family? Do you have a wife or children, etc.? It's Miss Kimberly. That's right. Yeah, it's Miss Kimberly's hot, and there's nothing wrong with that. Gilbert, yeah, Gilbert, if you don't have a family, it's Miss Kimberly. Nas, duh. All my friends know this. I'm sorry, but I respect that. Yeah, Nas moves smooth. Yeah, Gilbert, if you don't have a family, I would do it. Because that's what I said to myself, too, when I started my journey, brother. Was like, if I don't seize this moment while I'm relatively young, while I'm relatively healthy, there's certain time windows in life where you have the opportunity to make a decision. Doesn't mean you'll always make the right decision? No. Doesn't mean, period. But you should seize the moment as long as you are doing it responsibly and as long as you can secure an income for yourself. Like I say, I am not one of these people that tell you quit your job and go live out of your van, because I've been there in life where you have no income coming in and nothing will inspire you. I don't care if you live in your car. If you don't have any income coming in, you're not going to be inspired. So just make sure that however you decide to move in your life, that you have a source of income, or you can be by a job or whatever, because you want to live a good quality life. You don't want to just live cheap. You want to live a good quality life. But love and respect on everybody's journey. Let's see here. It's Miss Kimberly. A barber. I cut men's hair when I was on a ship. Okay. Gilbert, sounds like a match. Gilbert and Miss Kimberly may be direct messaging each other before the night's over. NYC and Houston hooking up. There's nothing wrong with that. So this is, my plan is to convert a paratransit. I don't know what a paratransit is, but the Ford Transit I think is a great car to live out of. Is that like a Ford Transit, Gilbert? I don't never heard of a paratransit. Oh, a bus, really? That's interesting. Well, one is, again, that's why we're all different. See, to me, I'm not a handy, not that I can do handy stuff, but I don't like doing handy stuff. So I wouldn't want all the work of a conversion, and that's a gas guzzler. That's the only downside. But again, like, you have to be you. If like that bus inspires you and you're willing to pay like gas, and you're not going to be stealth. You're going to have to like park like where the trucks park at the rest stop. You know what I mean? So you just have to be mindful. That's some loss. But if that's what you want to do, you should live your dream based on how you like it. But you just have to be aware that that's the pro and con. Like if you converted a bus, is you're not as stealth, you got more in gas, etc., etc. Not to say you shouldn't do it, because you should do it, but just be mindful of that. That's really the core of what I wanted to share, and I just wanted to reconnect with you guys. I haven't been live in a while. I just want to say love and respect and thank you for all the positivity. It's a blessing to me. I want to wish you a peaceful night, a night of love, of peace, and of pushing forward, of encouragement. Keep positive people around you, play your music, and respect and love to everybody, all right? We'll connect soon.